What's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net, and welcome to part 2 of our 2022 Wimbledon Finals match analysis between Novak Djokovic and Nick Kyrgios. To find out how Djokovic beat Kyrgios in this match, stay tuned because it's coming up next.
Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
All right, guys, before we jump into the points, let's look at some stats here about Novak's return to serve. There's a lot of talk about his return to serve, and let's look at some things that you can implement in your own game. 27% of Novak's first serve returns against Nick went cross-court in this match. 48% of his returns went into the middle third of the court in this match, and just 25% of his first serve returns against Nick went down the line. So what can you learn from that, right? Hit your returns against big serves down the middle. And we've talked about this in other videos, but the returner is moving inside the court and it is in a defensive position off these big serves. So it makes sense for you to crank them right up the middle more often than not to try to force them into bad shots and do damage to them and get them to hit short. And that's exactly what Novak did here. Hit the majority of his first serve returns right down the middle third of the court. Also, on top of that, he has depth in his favor, right? So if we look at the depth from Novak against Nick's first serve, 43% of Novak's first serve returns landed deep in zone 3, 38% of those returns landed in zone 2, and 19% of those returns landed shorter in zone 1. So not only did Novak hit to that middle third of the court, but he also hit deep when he was returning these big rockets from Nick. Nick was hitting some of the biggest second serves I've ever seen in the finals of a Grand Slam. It was really impressive. Let's jump into some points now. All right, guys, so let's jump into this point now. We've got Nick serving on the far side, Novak returning on the near side here. Let's see what we got. Nice serve from Nick right there. And this is one thing I've pointed out in the last couple Wimbledon finals with Djokovic, 2019, 2021, and now 2022. Before the server is making contact with the ball here, Novak, if you look on the near side, Novak actually moves in the direction of where he thinks the serve is going to land, okay? He thinks it's going to land to the left here. So he's already moving to his left before Nick even contacts the ball. Nick is still in the process of swinging up, and Novak is moving to his left. I don't know how exactly he pulls this off, but even if Nick was to serve to this side, 9 times out of 10, Novak still gets a racket on it. So he's able to cheat and pick a side before the server hits the serve and then hit a better quality return than he normally would if he hadn't cheated and kind of picked. I'm not saying actually cheated, but just like guessed. It's incredible. So he does that here again, and then he ends up in a stretch position, right? So he ends up still in a tough position, but not as tough as it would have been if he hadn't done that and kind of guessed beforehand where it was going. And then look at the return. Boom. Nick actually takes it out of the air as a volley from the baseline because it's such a deep return. He doesn't have time to react to it. It's absolutely incredible. Another thing you can learn from Novak here is just the follow through, right? I used to be guilty of this as a coach. A lot of times you want people to follow through on shots, whatever they are, but this is Novak's follow through. It's this little bunt, and he actually opens his racket face like this. And you ask, why is he opening his racket face? Everybody says you got to close your racket face all the time, right? It's like the oldest rule in the book. He's opening the racket face and bunting because that's what's getting him the depth, and the depth is key on the shot. So he's not going to follow through all the way if he doesn't have to. He's doing what he needs to do to get the ball where it needs to be to do damage to Nick, and that's a short swing and a short follow through with an open racket face at the end. Nick has to volley it from here. Does an amazing job, even just getting that into zone 2 right here and getting it to land in. It's incredible. Novak super low at the body, almost Red Wanska-ish. She was a phenomenal player who kind of did the squat on the baseline a lot of times on her backhand, but he's doing a good job just getting down, keeping his balance. Everything looks really good here. And look at that, man. Just zone 3 backhand, boom, no problem. To that Kyrgios forehand, which we've talked about, that high elbow position over and over again in part 1 of this video series, and how that's a technical liability, and he should lower that position in the future. It causes him to be late on a lot of deep balls. And there, he hits short into zone 1 because of that technical deficiency. This is Novak's opportunity to hit a rocket if he wants. And it's pretty good, right? So it's not a huge thumper, but he's taking Nick from one side of the court and testing that footwork and seeing if he can get all the way to the other side and not be damaged by it. Nick gets over. You can see he's really stretching and really lunging again. The head position is over the foot instead of in line with the hips because he can't get over there and get in good position quickly enough, okay? He's a big guy. and he ends up hitting that ball a little bit long. Djokovic does damage and forces the error. But it all started with that shovel return, that deep return, right? And Novak's ability to cheat here a little bit and guess the position before Nick makes contact, open racket face to get the depth, and then it kind of all unfolds from there. It's really remarkable. Let's move on to the second point now. All right, so point number 2, we got Nick serving on the near side and Djokovic returning from the far side, ad court this time. Another rocket, right? Pretty good position from Nick. And Novak's in a pretty tough position here. He's lunging and reaching for this, right? And trying to control the ball with one hand. A lot of times on the return, it's actually easier to control the ball with 2 hands on the racket than it is with 1. So on your backhand versus your forehand, and control the aim better than it is on a forehand. But Novak here does a good job. Zone 3 again. And let's go back for a second. I want to see if he kind of did the old cheat, and he did. So again, he's moving in the direction of where the serve is going to land before Nick hits it. Nick's racket's down back here, okay? And Novak's already moving into that position, and Novak does this time and time again. It gives him just a little bit of a better move to that contact, right? There's the forehand return. Somehow lands this deep in zone 3. And Nick doesn't even have time to get his super high elbow position, right? It doesn't get as high as normal because of where this ball is landing. Ends up on the back foot in a defensive position. Anytime you see a player that is pushed back like this and they're jammed back here like this, you can expect 9 times out of 10 that ball to either land short or just be fluffy and weak. Let's see what happens on this ball. There it is. It's both, okay? So we get short, which we expect, and also fluffy and weak, so it's sitting up. That gives Novak the chance now to really move around from a backhand and hit a forehand, and he's going to do it. And there he just thumps the forehand, right? Great shot. Novak balanced really well, takes a small target, boom, and then there's the winner. One thing I like to track stat-wise is something I like to call counters. A counter is a situation where if your opponent does damage to you, hurts you, gets you in a bad position, you're able to counter them in that shot in one of 3 ways. The first one is just counter-neutralize and get back to kind of even where they're not killing you with the next shot. The next one is to do counter damage. That's where they've done damage to you. You hit such a great counter yourself that your counter does damage back to them and you get them in a bad spot on the next shot. And the third one is a counter winner. So let's look at who won the battle of total counters in this match. Let's look at those stats real quick. If you look at the total counter stats, we can see Djokovic countered Kyrgios 57 times this match, and Nick was able to counter Novak 37 times. So that's plus 20 to Djokovic. It shows how much of a separation there is between their defensive skills. And I'm not criticizing Nick. Again, he's a phenomenal tennis player, but Novak's defensive skills are on another level and another planet from 99.9% of the players on tour. And what are the main things that allow you to counter really well, right? It's going to be a combination of anticipation, balance, flexibility, speed, and your control of the ball with your hands and your body, your ability to aim it, right? So let's jump into the next point now, and let's look at those counter skills from Novak. All right, guys, so we're jumping into this third point here. We've got Novak serving on the far side, Nick on the near side returning. Another second serve situation. We've had a lot of those where Nick really jumps on him and does a good job getting aggressive. This one, I really like how Kyrgios is leaning into that ball, and he's well inside zone 3 right here with his position. Really getting inside of the court. Again, on second serves, especially with quicker surfaces like this, a lot of the returners are inside the baseline, making contact with balls on second serve returns a really high percentage of the time, okay? So takes that backhand, hits it inside out, right? That's from this side of the court to the opposite side of the court to try to attack on this ball. Hits it in zone 2, and that was one of the issues for Nick is on some of these returns, they could have been a little bit deeper, and this one probably could have been deeper too. Novak here is in scramble mode and just takes this forehand from a completely defensive and damaged position. Look at how wide his feet are apart, right? Look at how wide his base is. Super defensive position. Nick's done damage, but Novak, doing a Novak, hits the ball on defense, countering and doing counter damage to Nick deep in zone 3. And look at the difference between Nick's body position here and what we saw from Novak before. Novak had his feet really wide apart, right? Nick's feet are very close together. He's a very tall player. He didn't react as quickly to this. So this position means he's going to hit a very weak ball or possibly make an error off this shot just based on his body position there. And there's the air right into the net, right? But again, second serve, Nick does a great job attacking, could have been a little bit deeper. Novak lunging from this almost, half splits position and then flicks it deep into zone 3. And there's no answer for that. There's nothing you can do except try to just get it back in play. Even if Nick gets it back in the court, there's a really high chance he's going to hit a weak ball and then Novak attacks and does damage on the next one or finishes with a winner. Let's jump into the fourth point now. All right, guys, so we've got Novak serving on the far side, Nick on the near side here. Let's get into it. Much more of a first serve from Novak this time. Nick does a really good job of finding zone 3 depth with his shot right here and pushing Novak back a little bit. And I want to compliment both players. This is something I've never seen before in a final at this level, is both players' ability to still hit pretty aggressive, receiving zone 3 balls off their back foot. That's something I have not seen before at this level or doing these matches that I'm starting to see. It's sort of an evolution of what's going on. Both guys cranking a lot of shots from bad positions. It's really remarkable. So hats off to both of these guys continuing to improve and evolve their games. But Djokovic forehand there, it's a pretty good ball, okay? Off of Nick's good return. He's on his back foot. He still finds zone 3 depth here against Nick, right? And tries to keep Nick from attacking. But Nick does a pretty good job with this forehand, just kind of swats it nicely. Boom, hits zone 2 here, and he's got Novak sprinting over. And again, though, here's an example of those insane counter skills. This guy, his feet are so wide apart, it looks like he's going to do the splits. He's stretched out, but he's also maintaining what we talked about before, his head above his hips, in line perfectly from these defensive positions. There's times where he's unable to keep this position, but he does it pretty frequently. It's pretty incredible that he does it. I chalk it up to his flexibility and his mindset. It's remarkable. But look at that. That's crazy, man. To do this, be in this position, clearly on defense, clearly damaged by Kyrgios, and then swat that thing cross court almost into a small target, pretty insane off Nick's shot. And then Nick pelts the forehand here. He just rips a forehand like no big deal. Hits a phenomenal shot. And we've got Djokovic moving again from one side of the court to the other, completely on defense here. Again, in this super wide base position, sliding on grass, but maintaining his head over his hips. It's incredible. And then there's the hand and arm control we've talked about too. Like, it's one thing to be balanced and to be fast and to do all these things. It's another thing to get there and use your hands and your arms to control your direction of your shot and your length of it, right? Your depth. That's freakish, man. It's crazy. So he does it there and hits zone 3. And if you're Nick at this point, you got to be like, are you joking, man? Like, the forehand that you hit on the previous shot was insane. This is insane. So Nick's coming over. He's on D. Does a nice job. Gets it deep, right? Takes this. Loops it up, but it's sitting a little bit here for Novak's forehand. And if it's sitting and it's not pushing you back or it's not making you feel like you've been damaged at all, it's a good chance for Novak to get aggressive. Let's see what happens. Boom, there it is. And I talked about how phenomenal Novak's backhand was in this match. It absolutely was. On faster surfaces, this is something I haven't talked about. You don't have to hit as many forehands on faster surfaces, even though it's a bigger shot. Compared to backhands, because your backhand is going to be faster on a faster surface. It's going to be able to do damage easier on a fast surface than it would on a slow surface, because when it hits the court, it's going to get through the court quicker. So you don't have to be desperate to hit forehands on a surface like grass, because your backhand's going to get a little extra oomph on it than it normally would. But in this situation, big forehand, boom, there it is, hitting the small target, just the edge of that small target area, right? And then Nick gets forced into the air. It's damage from Novak. And if you look at Nick, I feel for Nick in this situation. You just kind of look at how tough the situation is. Face his reaction is like, it is a "are you kidding me" type of thing. And I'm 100% on board with that. The stuff that's happening in this match is absolutely insane. It's a credit to both players, but a credit to Novak's counter skills, his mindset, his nutrition, the whole thing. I don't work for Novak Djokovic, but I can tell you, his whole concept in my mind, from what I see as an analyst, is that he wants to have zero weaknesses across the board. That is the ultimate goal. And I think he's pretty much accomplished it, but he's not satisfied with that either. I think he thinks there's always an area to improve in. And he's right. And if you have that mentality, that's how you become one of the greatest athletes in the world in the sport that you play. So the best of the best have that mentality. All right, that wraps it up for part 2 of our 2022 Wimbledon Finals match analysis between Nick Kyrgios and Novak Djokovic. If you found this video helpful or you feel like you learned something today, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. I'm Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. I'll see you next time.
Get ready.